Hi Mom and Dad. Mom wanted a video of our garden as it goes through the year, so it's been another month or so here it goes. I'm starting from the front of the house this time. You can see we have neighbors close on both sides, but this is the front yard. And there's a crepe myrtle right there in the front. You can see the red spires on top. The front yard also has xeriscaping, which means it has a lot of rocks, and then this native ground cover called horse herb is here in a sort of a decorative path. Anyway, I did put in some plants last fall into the front of the house. You can see these are holly plants, and that's a bicolor lily, and then some other plants. These are all evergreens, so we'll have them in the wintertime too. And we have ferns that flank the front door. So I'm just making my way around to the back of the house, around the right-hand side. We've had a lot of rain this year. It even rained a couple days ago again. It's just raining a lot, so I have an irrigation system, drip irrigation, but I just haven't had to use it much because of all the rain. Anyway, this is where the garden starts, and I'll walk through the gate. This is the firewood I have. And we did put in this patio, see that? A stone patio at the back off our porch. We put that in over the winter, and that's been a time we go out quite a bit in the evening. We have fans and stuff, so it's not too bad even if it's hot. Anyway, here's the garden. I would say we have a heavily shaded backyard, meaning a lot of the plants that are healthy don't tend to get flowers that much, at least less than normal. And we've also had this heavy rain, so we don't have a lot of flowers yet. I think the next time we have a video, there'll be more flowers. These gorgeous little guys here are called Mexican heather. See how purple they are? They're native down here, and they just do real well in Texas. Crepe myrtles, I've got 2 or 3 little ones I transplanted. These are crimson sage plants that aren't flowering yet. When they do, they have a beautiful crimson flower. We did find some gardenias that are frostproof. We put in 3 here. These 2 are quite recent. We put them in the last couple of weeks. And there's 2 here, and we've had one in already, and it's got some beautiful blossoms, but they all blossomed out about 2 weeks ago, and they'll come back again. They keep coming back. This is called, can't remember, it's a Chinese plant. It's a dwarf, and it's going to stay kind of low like this in the front. These are also evergreens. Nandina, it's called. This is a real famous flower in Texas. It's called Turk's Cap. I'm going to show you one of these flowers right up close. Right here, so you can see what they look like. You get real close, see how gorgeous they are? This is actually a wild plant in Texas that's been domesticated. I did also transplant some other Nandinas that are going to be bigger from Lisa's house a couple miles away, and they're sprinkled through here. Next variety is called an Indian hawthorn. That's a evergreen. It does flower a lot in the spring, and it's really very beautiful. And we put 2 more new ones in after we had good luck last year. We do have these very leathery plants here, the ferns, and they're all evergreen as well. We're big on evergreen now. We don't want the garden to really go completely died back in the winter, but we have several of these. Also, Texas is really good for growing herbs. These are mints. That's rosemary, and I'll point out a couple more as we get there. This is Mexican heather. It's Mexican oregano. It's actually oregano you can use for Spanish dishes or Mexican or Italian dishes. I have 2 or 3 of these, and I just don't know what they are. They have low flowers, and they're pretty healthy, but they're getting crowded by a flower I'll show you in a minute, and we may have to move them. We have tons of, well, before I get there, this is called a mountain laurel. It's big in Texas, and you can see all the new growth on it. It's doing very well. It's in its 3rd year. That's when shrubs like this really take off. Although it's slow growing, it's really having a good year. Now this crowded bunch of plants here is called Mexican petunias, and they're very invasive. They send shoots all over the place underground, and it's sort of taking over a whole big section of the garden, which we kind of like, but it may mean having to move some plants like this plant underneath that's kind of buried. Going further, we have basil. I planted about 3 or 4 weeks ago from plants, and they're going to seed now, and I'll let them go to seed. They'll reroot and come back up again, but we have native basil. Again, an example of a lot of herbs that we can grow down here for long parts of the season. This is a more established Mexican heather in a beautiful pot we got from Vietnam. We bought it here, but it's imported from Vietnam. And then this is a little shrub that's just coming back. I'm not sure what they are. We have 3 or 4 honeysuckles. This is the biggest one. It goes way up the tree. You can see way up the tree, as well as goes side to side. This also is evergreen. This is called Kenyan Copper Daisy. It's not flowering yet. It has a yellow flower. It's just not out yet. And I did have some oregano here, but it's died back. These border plants, I keep forgetting the name of them. They are starting to come out in flowers. You can see a flower coming out right there. They're just starting to come out, but they've been pretty healthy, and they'll get bushier and bushier on the border. This is a newer honeysuckle I just put in a few months ago, and it's okay, but it's just going slowly. These guys, it's a very crimson looking thing if they flower, but they're in so much shade sometimes they don't flower very much. We didn't get a lot of flowers last year, and there's a whole row of these. This is a jasmine plant, which is big down here. I just planted it last week, and you can already see it's already climbing up this mesh I have, and that has beautiful, small, fragrant flowers that come out, and it's very vigorous. And this is part of a whole back fence we try to grow things on, so it's pretty looking out the backyard. This is a yellow plant. When it completely gets going, he's been very healthy. It's called a Euryops. This comes in yellow flowers, and it came big, and it's coming back now. There's more here too. I did plant a couple rose bushes I got for ornamental stuff that they kind of ran out of their use, and I put them back here to see what will happen. These probably won't do that well. These are called yellow bells. When they're fully grown, they have bell-shaped yellow flowers. You can see there's a good chunk of them. This is a sage, a Mexican sage. This is also evergreen, and it pops very small purple flowers often when it gets very humid periodically. I don't grow much vegetables. I don't have much luck with that, but I have had some. These are peppers called cowhorn. This is serranos. And these are another kind of pepper. I did harvest some recently. They're generally spicy peppers. This plant here is something that has spiky blue flowers, and I know he died, and it's just coming back. I'm not sure when it'll get there. This is called a Lady Banks rose, climbing up the back. It goes in growth spurts, and it's been dormant now for a couple months, but you can see these sprouts that shoot straight up in the air. There's 2 of them. They just came out last week, and my job will be to train them back on the trellis once they get longer. More honeysuckle. This is a herb. It's thyme. It's thyme, and this is of course sage. Again, these are things we can grow for the table. This is called most of these died back, but this one persisted. It's called I forget what it's called, but this also gets bigger and has blue spikes on it. This is called a pittosporum that do well here. This has got plain. I also have some that are variegated. You'll see in a minute. This is another Nandina, which are transplanted, and that's struggling, but I think it'll be okay. These holly plants we put in the fall, and look how well they've done. They're very green. They just have a lot of new growth, and it's right back next to a small patio we made in the back corner of the house with some seating. I had the cushions up because it rained yesterday. Not sure what that shrub is. These are a whole bunch of caladiums, bulb plants. They're South American plants. They do well down here, and they come back up. They die back, but they come up every spring, kind of late in spring. These are called waxleaf. There's 3 of these, and they're pretty big plants. Eventually, they'll be 5 or 6 feet tall and wide, but they're only in their 2nd year. And you can see because of all the rain, we've had some disease on the leaves. This is mostly due to too much moisture. So we get 3 of these. This is going to be my favorite thing. I think it's a variety of a cherry tree, and it's supposed to get up to 25, 30 feet tall. It's only in its 2nd year, and it's about 5 feet tall now. But that'll be another big tree. I've got some big trees in the backyard that go quite high. You can see that one and that one. These are what's called, people call them cedar elms. They're a variety of elm tree that does well down here. But I have a big gap along the fence, so I decided I'd plant this big cherry tree to grow there. Wood ferns, variegated pittosporum. This one had a lot of disease I had to cut back, but it's growing back pretty good now. More wood fern, pittosporum. This is another one of my favorite plants. This is called Texas dogwood and it has a very early blossom. In fact, you can see where the berries are on the plant, where the blossoms were. But this has been very vigorous. And this last one is kind of a strange plant. It's called Glossolabilia. And Glossolabilia is supposed to be upright, but for some reason last year it kind of sprawled, you can see. But this year we have an upright growth, which is pretty good. Now over the whole yard, because of the shade, we can't grow grass really well. So I've got this horse herb, it's called. You can see it's a beautiful little plant that comes out in yellow flowers. See the yellow flowers there? I did spray them this morning. There's some kind of a pest eating some of the plants. In fact, I'm going to walk out to a better set of plants so you can see when they're... So it's basically replaced the grass in the backyard. There's a very small butterfly that likes these yellow flowers, but this covers substantially the whole backyard. I also this spring put in this walkway from the back little deck and walks down through the yard so we don't have to, when it's wet, we don't have to walk in the wet. We also have several plants that we just set out on the patio. We have to water every few days. You can see that they're doing well. I don't know all the names of these actually. These are Vicky's plants, but they've all done pretty well. They get a lot of sun, the most sun of all. And this is an hibiscus plant that's just coming out. You can see the hibiscus flower just budding. And these are geraniums, I think, but I'm not really sure. Anyway, that's about it. We do have, again, we have trees all over the place. I'd like to cut down a couple, but Vicky won't have it, so we don't have it. So that's the garden tour. Love you guys.